placed, and discussions during the event focused on the government's willingness to provide public information. While some panelists acknowledge the government's efforts, others argue for the need for greater transparency, particularly concerning financial disclosure. We recognize that our asset to information regime is not perfect, but it has to be improved significantly since the Freedom of Information Law was enacted in 2010. As a government, we remain committed to transparency as President Bouakai prioritizes the public right to know. In his first 6 months, he reconstituted the Independent Information Commission, which assists Liberia in assessing government information. The government of Liberia is dedicated to advancing free access to public information. We encourage citizens to engage with government ministries and agencies for information requests, and if challenges arise, they can reach out to the Independent Information Commission or reach out for assistance. We acknowledge the need for greater public awareness of the Freedom of Information Law, and we are committed to educating the public on how to neutralize it. We encourage you to exercise your right to access public information, as this will help us understand the challenges we face and how we can assist. On Tuesday this week, the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Honorable Augustine Kwe-Gafua, received in audience the Ambassador of the United Kingdom, His Excellency Neil Bali. On Tuesday, Honorable Gafua, the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, met with His Excellency Neil Bali, the Ambassador of the United Kingdom. The Ambassador reaffirmed the UK's commitment to Liberia's development, emphasizing the UK government and people's dedication to strengthening the social contract between the Liberian populace and their governments. The UK will continue to support Liberia as we work to improve living conditions, enhancing business environment, and attract investments, including from the UK, he added. They will also assist in development and implementation of the REST agenda for inclusive development. We thank the United Kingdom for their ongoing support and look forward to even greater cooperation in the future. His Excellency President Joseph Bouakai has sent congratulatory messages to the government and people of the Republic of Guinea, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the Republic of Botswana. President Joseph Bouakai has sent congratulatory messages to the government and people of Guinea, Nigeria, and Botswana, which recently celebrated their independence days. Guinea marked its National Day yesterday, October 2nd, and Nigeria celebrated on October 1st, and Botswana on September 30th. The President extended his congratulations and wished the leaders of these countries wisdom and strength as they guide their nations towards greater achievement and prosperity. Lastly, I have to say that the Liberia National Police on yesterday invited the former Finance Minister Samuel B. Twere for questioning. LB says Mr. Twere is a person of interest in their reopened investigation into the death of late Imaya Bati Niswa, former head of the Internal Audit Agency of Liberia. We understand that Criminal OC has also prohibited the unauthorized exit from the country of Mr. Twere and 4 others charged by the government on corruption-related offenses. Former Acting Justice Minister Yanti Twine, former Director General of the Financial Intelligence Agency, Stanley A. Ford, who is still alive, former controller of the Financial Intelligence Agency, D. Moses P. Kopo, and Jefferson Campbell, former National Security Advisor to former President George Weah. The court said the above persons should be arrested when they attempt to leave the country without authorization. The action is a continuation of the ongoing case the government has against the 5 named individuals. That being said, members of the press, let me now welcome to the podium the Honorable Minister of Commerce. He will make his presentation and retire to his seat. The group from the BIS University will come to speak before we take questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, Acting Minister, Deputy Ministers and officials of the Ministry of Information, Deputy Ministers of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Liberians. I stand before you today to share some of the achievements of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry since I assumed leadership and to provide updates on ongoing initiatives. Look, you really have to be in government, particularly from the inception, to understand how dysfunctional the system we inherited was. This was not peculiar to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, but across government, my colleagues and I have been working assiduously to first understand what we inherited and then jumpstart our various institutions despite the financial and structural challenges. So it has been a difficult process. Since I took over the reins of the ministry, my team and I have been working diligently to lay the foundation for a transparent, efficient, and growth-driven ministry. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry is committed to the transformative vision of the Arrest Agenda and as encapsulated in our vision statement. To build a dynamic, capitalistic economy led by an innovative and competitive private sector focused on trade and industrial expansion to benefit all Liberians. This vision underscores the ministry's mission to steering Liberia towards a robust economic renaissance. We believe by fostering a vibrant private sector with Liberian women and youth, Liberian enterprises, Liberian micro, small, and medium enterprises as the bedrock, we can deliver a sustainable economy, we can drive sustainable development, and create meaningful work opportunities that empower our people and improve the quality of life. Our renewed core values are simple: integrity and transparency, innovation, teamwork and partnership, accountability and efficiency, and being customer focused. So please bear with me as I run through some of our achievements. I'll be the first to note that we haven't done well as far as communicating with the public. And I promise we are working to improve our communication system and building a more engaging and effective communication team that will address some of these communication concerns. Immediately after assuming office, we initiated an internal audit of our human resources, our payroll, financial transactions, and fixed assets to understand what we inherited and to ensure accountability and transparency. We have engaged the civil service agency to retire absentee staff and pension those who are above 60. We have also identified ghost needs, and we have begun the process of filling capacity gaps in the ministry to ensure efficiency and productivity. We requested the GSC to conduct an audit of our financial statements 2017 to 2023. We have established a 4-member disciplinary committee to investigate reports of malpractices and misappropriations at the ministry. We have put in place a robust system to enforce effective asset management. Our procurement division has been realigned to comply with the PPCC Act of 2010. We have launched the renovation of the business registry. We have completed 90% of that, which now includes solar power for consistency, and ongoing plans to digitize the business registry is forthcoming. The intention is to streamline business registration and reduce corruption and make it more effective. The business registration process now takes 3 to 5 business days, reducing it significantly from the 1 or 2 weeks backlog that we inherited. When we roll out the digital platform, we expect it to be more efficient and more predictable. To curtail the corruption and bureaucratic bottlenecks and address revenue leakages that we have identified at the business registry, we'll also be rolling out a very new business registration certificate featuring anti-fraud security features. That could be released very soon, probably within a month. We have secured funding to digitize other services at the Ministry of Commerce, just as we indicated for the business registry. We have begun upgrading critical processes, including the process of applying for IPDs and EPDs. We prioritize addressing these bottlenecks and corruption that have been entrenched in the system. We'll be rolling out a digital platform next week, beginning with a few critical commodities, wherein anyone can apply for EPD or IPD in any part of the country using your phone or the internet. We have also re-established productive relationship, fostering collaboration with key stakeholders, including the Chamber of Commerce, the Liberian Business Association, Colimbo, and the Liberian Marketing Association to establish productive public-private collaboration and inclusive development in the business community. We have implemented an aggressive re-engagement of our development partners in an effort not only to harness opportunities, but to also become active participants in the global trade decision-making system. As you have heard, we submitted the ratified African Continental Free Trade Agreement to AU and aggressively pursuing our membership and exploring opportunities for Liberian businesses to take advantage of regional markets and trade development opportunities. We recently visited Geneva, Switzerland, and had critical meetings with the WTO, with global institutions like the WTO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and the Enhanced Integrated Framework Secretariat, and the International Trade Center, thereby reintegrating into their programs and reinforcing our national development priorities as enshrined in the IRES agenda. We've also paid our membership obligations that we inherited that were delinquent and were impeding our participation and access to benefits and opportunities. For example, during our leadership, we paid the $33,000 that was owed the WTO for our membership. We paid $55,000 of the EIF fund that was misappropriated and prevented access to over $6 million in support for Liberia. We re-engaged other governments and bilaterals, including Cambodia, China, India, the US, Indonesia, on several issues including food security, rice supply, and how we can integrate and take advantage of their markets. From the first month we took over, we reduced the price of rice on the market from $17 to $16.75. Over the last 6 months, despite global factors, despite demands for increase, we have stabilized the supply and the prices of essential commodities, including sugar, rice, and petroleum. Petroleum has been on the downward trend for the past 6 months since we took over. Despite propaganda from distractors that continue to spew issues about rice, I'm proud to say that Liberia has not experienced any shortage of rice and have prices have remained stable for the past 9 months. We are pleased also to announce that on September 27th, India reduced the 20% tariff that it imposed that was impacting the price of rice globally to 10%. We believe that this will have a positive impact on stabilizing the price of rice, and we are already working with stakeholders and awaiting the president to discuss the way forward. I can assure you the leadership of the president and the strategy we have employed over the last 9 months have worked. Clearly, there has been no shortage again, and there has been no real substantive increase in price. We have gone beyond rice. We believe it is about food security. So we have focused our agenda in ensuring on food security. We have been working with the Ministry of Agriculture, the NIC, and other agencies, focusing on how we can diversify our local food production, going beyond just the production of rice, which is essential, to also the production of other necessary food items. And we're making significant progress with that. We have also resurveyed the Maroon Industrial Park and are reclaiming plots of land to purposely reallocate to Liberian enterprises and expand access to key production activities, focusing on food and value addition. One of our priorities is to ensure that Liberians take charge of the nascent agro-food processing industry. We fervently believe that self-sustainability and food security are critical elements of political independence and inclusive economic growth. We have engaged our partners for support to expand and modernize the industrial park to make it more attractive for investment and to establish regional hubs in Banga, Ganta, and Bonjaman to address growth opportunities in those regions. We've also collaborated with the Liberian Electricity Corporation and have entered into an agreement to construct a substation at the industrial park. This substation will provide access to electricity, a steady supply of electricity, and is expected to reduce the cost in this agreement of electricity for those manufacturing sector. And we believe this will be completed within the next 9 months. Now, despite the budgetary constraints, we are actively improving the ministry's infrastructure and operations, including repairing the elevator, installing biometric security system for attendance and security, renovating offices, and empowering our staff to do the work. If you visit the ministry today, you will appreciate the work we've done repainting and rehabilitating the edifice to restore its current credibility and so that it represents the business entity that it should be. We have re-established the great relationship with several local development partners, including the UNDP. When we came in, we inherited over 300,000 in debt accrued from not providing services that we agreed upon. And there was a series of lack of responsiveness from the ministry engagement with our development partners. But I'm glad to say we have reactivated, re-engaged all our development partners in the country, and we're already seeing results. We have secured funding through UNIDO to refurbish the standard lab and working on securing funding to even build our own standard lab, a proper, expensive standard lab facility. We are also in talks with private companies to extend the services of the lab to include inspection of foods and other items imported into the country for safety and hygiene, and to ensure that they meet the quality standards for the market. We're also expanding the services of working on expanding the services of the standard facility to also test and make sure that products that we produce in Nigeria meet the standard for global markets. We have conducted our second quarter industrial audit exercise, focusing on educating the private sector about industrial safety and food manufacturing. We have collected, out of concern for quality of goods and goods on the market, we've collected data from various industries. We've collected samples of critical items like zinc, roofing sheets, steel rods, electro wire. Some time ago, I reported that we had caught a factory that was producing substandard electric wire here that was causing a lot of the fires. As you can see, the fire incidences have reduced significantly. But we have gone further to test the items locally, and we have taken them to Ghana, to the Ghana Standard Authority, to have further tests on the quality of a lot of these products that are on the quality and safety of a lot of these products on the market. We recently released new administrative regulations. I'm hearing people are criticizing some of these regulations, but I will speak about them a little bit. We have established new regulations for the importation of electronics. It is not to constrain or to be to the disadvantage of Liberian businesses in electronics. How many times you purchase electronic items within a week or two or a month, you have to return them to the merchants. There's no recourse. They don't take them. They don't refund your money, and you are lost. We all have experienced that. So we have implemented a new policy on electronics. If you're establishing or if you're importing electronics, you must establish a workshop within your company manned by a Liberian technician, which is Liberianization. You must be able to provide warranties, automatic warranties, and maybe extra warranties if people want to pay for 1 year or so. This is to address the severe issues we have of quality on the market, not to constrain Liberian businesses. We've opened the market on various commodities, but we have set standards for them. For example, rice. Anyone, particularly Liberian enterprises, can apply for permits to import rice. We inherited 6 importers when we took over. We have granted IPDs to about 12 new importers, all of them Liberian. However, public safety is still a concern. The process of importation of these key commodities must also be managed. So for example, for rice, you must have the storage capacity. I think you know recently in the press, we buried several consignments, several volumes of rice because they had gotten damaged. This is due to the storage facility. So if you're bringing rice, the process is straightforward. One, you apply for the permit, you give a sample of the rice to ensure that you're bringing quality rice. You tell us how much you will sell the rice to ensure that they don't exceed the price ceiling that we established for the market. And you must demonstrate that you have conducive warehousing space to ensure the quality of the rice. We have done the same with frozen food. If you notice, because we've opened the market for frozen food, you have an overflow of frozen food, fresh products on the market. In fact, the Minister of Health really complained recently that a lot of frozen food are getting damaged on the market because of the overflow. This is in an attempt of opening the market and fostering a free market or mixed market economy. We'll continue to do so without deterrence. We hope that we can empower our own people to get into these sectors. Out of the alarming concerns of the price of commodities on the market, we've engaged the various importers and manufacturers. Though marginally, we reduce the price of flour, we reduce the price of steel rolls, we also reduce the price of eggs. We're having meetings with the various manufacturers, importers, and dealers to further increase and expand this number. We recently had meetings with the manufacturers and importers of vegetable oil, and very soon we'll announce something very favorable to the public. We've also engaged the supermarkets. Pricing are high. They are citing several reasons prices are high in the supermarkets, but we have also engaged them, and they have committed to do something about prices in the supermarkets. All the supermarkets have agreed also to establish student corners as student enrollment has begun, schools are opening. They are establishing student corners where they will subsidize the prices of key student items and student food stuff, which is a good step. All the supermarkets have also agreed to, if they have the space, to build formal stalls for our market women to sell fruits and vegetables in front of the supermarkets. We launched an informal business registration process targeting 10,000 Liberian businesses. That is ongoing. We're making progress. There are challenges, but we are dedicated to formalizing the informal sector and positioning them for benefits through the banks and other financial services. Support to vegetables sellers. Through engagement with UNDP, we installed 244 cold storage facilities at the Omega market to support Liberian market women. We also opened, received 8 solar freezers through UNDP for fish farmers in Little Bassa. Public procurement, we have begun engaging stakeholders on the 25% procurement law, which mandates 25% of public procurement, that for 25% of public procurement must go to Liberian businesses. We presented that in cabinet, the president champions that, and we're holding every government agency accountable to this. In fact, we have been working with PPCC, and we are requesting every government agency reported a report on how they implement the procurement law. Made in Liberian store. We have completed a Made in Liberian store at the Ministry of Commerce, a very fantastic, phenomenal store to showcase Liberian entrepreneurs that are producing things in Liberia. I saw one Facebook post, I think sometime yesterday, they said, I own the store in the Ministry of Commerce. But this is a free service to Liberian entrepreneurs, Liberians producing in Liberia. We're trying to promote proper packaging, preparing them for export markets. We've also began discussion with the RIA to duplicate that Made in Liberia Center at the airport. In fact, we should have visited it today. We'll be going there tomorrow or the day after tomorrow to inspect the site. We will try to replicate it at various port of entry, major port of entries, and the other small airports, to promote Made in Liberia products. We helped renovate the Jopata market, the Raritan market. We gave LMA $200,000 to help roof the Raritan market, and we're working on helping to renovate the Jopata market roof. They are experiencing a lot of leakages. Now, if you have noticed in the business community, I get calls every day how impressed they are with our inspectorate. On top of what we grounded the inspectorate for a while to make sure we reorient them with their role and their responsibilities. We roll them out properly uniform. We are no longer doing sporadic inspection at businesses, whether foreign or Liberian owned. The inspections are more predictable. They are focused on quality, focused on conformity with the law. We've empowered them by purchasing vehicle and allocating transportation for them. We just purchased about a month ago a new pickup truck for the Inspector General. And we've also started our inspection of the various offices across the country. I will talk about that shortly. But because of the vigilance of the inspectorate, we have been able to curtail a lot of illegal importation of substandard goods through our borders. We have been able to also inspect and shut down several companies, several businesses that were producing substandard, harmful, or expired ingredients or materials. We made significant progress in that. And in fact, the revenue increase at the Ministry of Commerce through the inspectorate is well noted. In collaboration with the UNDP and the Accountability Lab, we implemented impactful programs for Liberian businesses across the country: Montserrado, Lofa, Grand Cape Mount, Grand Bassa, Sinai, and Grand GA, by providing access to technical assistance, mentorship, and co-financing. That program is designed to help revenue-generating small and medium enterprises that are commercially inclined, and to build cooperation within the agriculture sector to upskill their production. Through this project, we released $40,000 in support. They provide technical assistance and grants ranging from $10,000 to $40,000 salary to small and medium enterprises, forest-based enterprises, and agricultural cooperatives. We also trained 135 individuals, including 30 persons with disabilities or affected with HIV, 45 women in textiles, 90 of whom received grants from between 500, not loans, grants from between 500, minimum of $500 each, to start up their businesses. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry and the Tailor Union will be graduating 50 youths in basic training in sewing, and I've decided to take that industry further. I think we'll take advantage of the AGOA preferences. We also recently launched in collaboration with the commercial banks, a $6 million credit line targeting SMEs through the LIFT program supported by the World Bank. We have released the first tranche of $3 million, and another $3 million will be released shortly once we see how those financial institutions are performing. It provides low interest and suitable term funding through the commercial banks and non-banking financial institutions. Portions will be dedicated to supporting Liberian in the importation of key commodities. Now, at this point, I will tell you, we also started discussions with the central bank in our effort to ensure that Liberians actively partake in the importation of rice. We have begun discussion with the central bank to see how we can perfect a credit facility to support Liberians who want to import rice. As I stated before, we have granted about 12 IPDs, but many of them are facing serious challenges with the capital requirement for importing rice. So we're working with the central bank, and I think we have some leading names. The governor of the central bank has some very good ideas on how we can empower the commercial bank to be able to provide that letter of credit by bringing Liberian rice importers together. We recently launched our nationwide tour. We went on the side heading to Liba. We visited 3 counties, inspected the various Ministry of Commerce offices and the border points. And it was very relieving. We discovered that within the last 3 years, we probably lost about $900,000 in revenue from business registration. This is what exacerbated our desire to release security featured business registration certificates. At the Ministry of Commerce, we have also improved national revenue. Last year, the Ministry of Commerce projected, I believe, $3.9 million in revenue. We generated 3.8 million, sorry, and the ministry generated 1.9. To date, when I checked yesterday, we have generated 1.9, and we are poised to surpass 2.5, or even hit the $3 million mark if we're empowered and we roll out our robust business registration process that's already in place. In closing, Liberians, let me reassure the public that we're working diligently to focus on establishing a predictable, vibrant, and enabling business environment. I remain fully committed to empowering Liberian businesses. Coming from the private sector, I know what it means. I understand the challenges Liberian entrepreneurs face, and I'm committed to ensuring that Liberians take charge of the economy. I must emphasize here, however, that as the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, we will not be intimidated into corrupt practices and swayed by false accusations. The enemies of change, whom the very existence of this administration is a threat, and they will stop at nothing but to impinge the reputation of most of us who remain true and committed, or remain determined. Our focus is on excellence in creating the right outcomes that will transform Liberia's economy for the benefit of all Liberians. We remain committed to international best practices, the rule of law, and most importantly, to serving the Liberian people with integrity. I came to this office with an impeccable reputation. Since becoming minister, I have been clear about my commitments to doing the right things for Liberia. I will continue to pursue this mission, undeterred by those who seek to maintain the status quo. We are at a critical juncture in our nation's history, and we owe it to every Liberian to ensure that our trade and commerce sectors are managed transparently and effectively. Thank you, and I look forward to continued collaboration with our stakeholders and the press, and for a better future of Liberia. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is June Excel Newton. I am the media focus person for the Miss University Liberia Beauty Pageant Project, and this is
Hi everybody, my name is Suma Makule. I am the Assistant Project Director for the Miss University Liberia Pageant.
Honorable ministers here present, deputy ministers, directors, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. So the Miss University Liberia Beauty Pageant Project is a first of its kind in Liberia, a non-beginning beauty pageant project that is strictly focused on research methodologies, using research to solve problems. Unlike a traditional pageant in Liberia, this pageant is focused on empowering young women across universities to be able to solve policy issues. So the pageant is being organized by TAR Events and Media Consultancy in partnership with the Liberia National Students Union. So before I go further, I'd like to thank the Ministry of Information and Cultural Affairs and Tourism for their support towards this project. It has given us a platform to ensure that the young people in Liberia, when they want to do something positive, they will be here to support it. So Mika, thank you so very much. And then also our sponsors who have signed up to support this project. We want to thank you in a very special way. And I also like to thank my teammates. Today we would not have been here if everybody's hands were not on deck to ensure that this project reaches this far. So Suma will just add up to that and then we'll continue. Yeah.
So the focus areas for the research project include sustainable development, waste management, and economic growth, drug abuse, mental health, natural resource management, tourism, youth empowerment, education, corruption, work war, sexual harassment, and health. So from our assessment carried out, we have assigned, we have engaged 16 tertiary institutions in Liberia. Out of the 16 institutions, we are proud to announce so far that we have recruited about 5 queens: Ms. Vashti T. Bia from the University of Liberia, Ms. Tobina Zomba from Blue Crest University of Ms. Hajami Kroma from Smith Institute, Ms. QG Kamara from AMU University. So far, we are still pursuing more universities like Tupper University, Advantage, Stella Maris, to see that if we can be able to recruit our points before our official launch date, which is November 23rd, 2014. So, the winner of Miss University Liberia Beauty Pageant will receive a scholarship, a branded card, a cash prize, and job opportunity. The winner will also represent Liberia in Abuja, Nigeria, 2025 and 2026 for the official Miss University Africa Beauty Pageant. So we're working closely also with the United Nations and the Youth Assembly in the United States to have us slot our points to be able to pursue international opportunities in the US and also advocacy to be able to promote their work further.
Okay, thank you so much. So in addition to that, I'd just like to use this time to call on everyone to support this project. We're in need of sponsors, partners, deals. We just want every Liberian to come on board to ensure that this project is successful, because to some extent it also is geared toward achieving gender equality and promoting development in our pageantry sector. So I'm sure so far so good.
So lastly, we also just want to say that during the launch that we also just want to assure the Liberian public that during the launch, which will be held on November 23rd, 2024, we will be unveiling our queens, sponsors, and partners. The project team would also like to appreciate all of our media partners who are present today and influencers for the overwhelming support we have received so far for the project. We are grateful to our sponsors like Digital said. We have so many sponsorships ranging from brand ambassadorships to private sectors brands. We will be offering more information about this during our launching on October 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the team from the Miss University Beauty Pageant. We had to do this because the ministry is a sector ministry for all those who are involved in pageantry, tailoring, all these kind of events. They fall under the Ministry of Information, so we'll have to give our platform so they can come to speak to the media and to the Liberian public. We listened to the distinguished minister from the Minister of Commerce. He spoke very lengthily. We have questions, formally. We will insist that you please tailor your question to the long list of presentation that was made by the minister. We'll take 5 questions at a time and the minister will respond. Mr. Victor, you stand? Okay. Mr. Rather stand.
Thank you. Please, share your question be on the media and and the statement.
All right. So thank you so much. My name is Maurice Oleti, and I report for OKFM. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for your deliberation, and to the other guests that are here. Basically, I got one question but I got A and B. Yes. So you talk about the $1.9 million that you were able to generate. Can you be specific from when to when, please?
Sure. So
yes.
What's the second question?
So thank you so much, Honorable Minister. The second one is you at the concluding stage of your presentation, you try to commit yourself in terms of the way Liberian people work. Honorable Minister, can you respond to this? Because there are information in the public that quite recently you were linked to, method, value a vehicle. Can you respond to that? And my third question go to Minister Samuel. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your deliberation. Quite recently when President Bouaka took over, he said he's going for 4 days, 3 days, 5 days, and all. For this one, when you went in the States and other countries that travel to, in the e-margin release, it was not mentioned as to how many days President will stay out of the country. And people are concerned. They are saying that the President is using the taxpayers' money. What is your initial contribution or your response to this question? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ezekiel Tiwo. I report for Encounter TV, Liberia. Honorable Minister, according to your report just now, you said that the price of 25 kg bag of rice is $16, but on the market is $17.50. So I don't know how can you reconcile that, please? Thank you. Honorable Minister, my name is Robert Mama and I report for Spoon FM. Minister Modai, the other time you stated that in the soonest possible time, Liberia is about to showcase or bring standard laboratory. But I heard you in your presentation that you are currently taking products out of Liberia to Ghana to do testing and all of that. Where are we with our own laboratory to be able to test our own product in the country? And B, do you think that the recent reports that you purchased 100,000 out of vehicle has ruined your reputation? What you intend to do for the country at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry? And our folks that came from the Miss University, you didn't tell us exactly what prompted your decision to, for the first time, to have this initiative for Liberian girls who are in universities to show, or aside from that, will we see any Minister University also?
Let me just, can I just insert this?
So we'll take how many line?
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Bokolu and I work for SkyFM. So my question goes to Minister Mota. Minister, you mentioned all of the works that you're doing at the ministry, but I believe that if the staff are not empowered, there won't be the work that you mentioned. But you didn't mention anything about them. So you want to be specific and tell us how many of the staff that you are empowered, maybe through training, whatever means that you have done that, so that the public can know. Thank you so much.
So basically, I got one question with A, B, and C. And my name is Gerald T. Morris, and I report for Freedom FM in Monrovia. Minister, the issue of medtech subsidy at Port of Monrovia is allegedly causing serious challenges for businesses, as according to some migrant businesses, right? Due to the common overcharging to clear goods from the port, which is causing sharp rise in price of goods in the market. What are you doing to address that? That's B. What measure have you taken to ensure consumer protection and promote fair trading practices for Liberian businesses? And lastly, how do you engage with the business community to gather feedback and address their challenges? Thank you.
My name is Joseph Kekula and I report for Report 231 online TV and website. Minister Modal, last week a group under the banner concerned workers at the Liberia External Authority had a press conference accusing you of undermining the entity based on your alleged refusal to work with the Director General Council Council. How do you take information? And follow up with that, what is the relationship between you and Council Council as both chair of the Liberia External Authority? Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Oya Phillips. I report for the Liberia newspaper. One question, whether you talk about digitizing the business registration processes in Liberia, but at the same time receiving money from the media to build a system in Liberia. Will you mind tell how much have you received?
Thank you. So, in reference to the 1.9 million, it's up to date. Our last check, last week we had generated close to, we have actually generated about 1.9 million. It doesn't take into account between now and the end of the year. Two persons asked about the medtech issue, the legal issue, so I think one response to address it. LRA has released a statement, credible institution. Please refer to that statement. But one thing I can assure you, there was never any instance of corruption, malfeasance, or deviation from the set procedures in procuring that vehicle. We talk about the price of rice being 16, no, I said 16.75, and that 16.75 is the wholesale price. So you expect as it leaves from the wholesale, the retail prices will increase thereafter, depending on the location, and where it's being sold. What we have been doing, and our inspector have been doing, is to ensure that we analyze the cost of transporting a bag of rice, say from Monrovia to Banga, to ensure that that cost is considered or factored into what is being sold for. In our recent visit to Banga, rice was being sold there for 1850, and that is reasonable. 1840, and that is reasonable considering the cost of rice, to transport it there. The further you go with all the inherent conditions like the roads, like the cost of transportation, you expect it to increase, but we're doing our best to ensure that it's not being sold excessively. I mentioned this before. We have been focused on the ceiling price for wholesale rice all throughout our history. But actually, a lot of the problems relate to how it is sold in the retail market. There are several factors that are real, that are inherent, but sometimes the business will take advantage of it. But we've been very vigilant. We've been shutting stores down that we saw, or shops that we saw that are taking advantage of it. We talk about the standard lab. We do have a standard lab. That was there, I think, around 2010. But it is not up to the standard as we want it to be. Okay? They are doing rudimentary inspections and assessment, for example, size, weight, volume, color, or what have you. So our effort, and we are beginning, going to one question someone asked, I didn't say we have received money, I said we have received commitment. We have not received the funds. The leader has committed $250,000 to help advance the standard line. Over the last few years, they have been one of our key supporters for the standard facility, and they have been providing support. Our intention, we have already started engaging GSA to identify plots of land, whether at the ministerial complex or at the industrial park, to build a full-fledged standard facility. We're also working with the private sector. We want to foster a public-private cooperation of this, bringing the expertise that have been tested in advancing the standard facility, not only to test goods in the market, but as I said, to also make sure that our exports conform, meet the certification and quality requirements for export. Staff development. We have put in place a lot. Understand our budgetary constraints. When we have appropriated vehicles for staff, we are realigned, repossessed vehicles, and we have distributed them. We have tried to build the capacity of our staff and our colleagues to do the work. We purchase computers and all the tools that they need. We can still do more, but again, we have the budgetary constraints. In terms of training, my deputy ministers and colleagues have been working with our team to do internal development of our staff training. Revisioning, in fact, we embarked on a reassessment and redoing our strategic plan for the ministry in collaboration, and this was supported by our development partners and involved our staff. In terms of training, several staff have gone out. I don't have the figure here, but I mentioned to you, we re-engaged our development partners, paid our obligations, that opened opportunities for training. A lot of our staff have gone regionally and in Europe and elsewhere for training. We are developing a robust training program for them. Benefits. We are reinstituting the insurance scheme that was not there before. If you enter the Ministry of Commerce now, you'll see a very effective ministry. Every floor has water fountains, for example. These are minor things, but these are things that enhance the work environment. Look at it, you go and see the reception mirror here has been transformed into a corporate institution. What do you see in a corporate institution? Because our responsibility is to interact with the business community. You talk about consumer protection. We announced about a month or so ago consumer hotlines, phone numbers, about 4 or so phone numbers, to ensure that the consuming public have access to the Ministry of Commerce. We have been getting real-time complaints from consumers, and we are responding effectively to them. We are developing a customer service unit that is responsible for coordinating this, has been empowered, has been developed, we have been realigned. So we are making a lot of efforts on that. Consumer protection. When we develop the standard facility, it supports consumer protection. When we develop the business registry to be able to be efficient and effective, it supports our engagement with the public. The workers of the standard facility. The standard lab migrated from a standard lab to a standard authority. I believe we have been working consistently with the President's office to ensure that it is well manned and empowered to do its function. There are some internal issues, but again, we are working on them as an institution. We encourage
our staff at the ministry and all our auxiliary entities to express themselves. So I have no issue if staff have concerns and are raising them. It is our responsibility, the team and I, to address those, and we're doing that effectively. So forget about the rumors, forget what you're hearing, look at what is being done and what you can see. There are some issues with the Standard Authority, and the President has committed to address that. I won't get into that until he makes some decisions, but I can reassure you, the Standard Authority is a key component of ensuring we have a vibrant economy, ensuring that we are prepared to take advantage of regional opportunities, including the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and we will not drop that. We're working hard to work on that. Was there any other question? So, the Ministry of Commerce does not deal directly with METEC. The agreement METEC has with the government is with the NRA. Our involvement is because we are part of the trade environment, and that's where the buck stops. We have joined NRA in engaging METEC, CT, and all the other service providers. I mean, we met shipping companies, we met the Brokers Association to ensure that they reduce the cost on businesses, and we're working on that. We made some recommendations to the President in our discussions led by LRA with METEC and CTN. Primarily on our agenda then was the reduction in those fees and services. So I think the government, as a point, is making some decisions. The House and Senate have gotten involved in the METEC, CTN, and all of these issues. So we're working together to make sure that we settle this. That's about it, right? Yes, that's all. Well, I think my briefing was succinct. It was honest. I've built a very good reputation in the private sector. Committed to my responsibility, and I've conscientiously been working towards making sure that I do this in good faith. I'm one of the first ministers to have declared the assets. I also reduced my salary by 40% following the President. That's a personal decision to show support for the President, also to identify with the constraints we face as a government. My colleagues can tell you a lot of the expenses that we incur at the Ministry of Commerce. Some of them, I put them out of pocket. I don't have to, but I have a responsibility that I'm taking up. As I have done in the private sector vigilantly, I'm committed to succeed at the Ministry of Commerce. I encourage all of you, if you have any issues, any concerns that you're hearing, reach out to the Ministry of Commerce, reach out to my colleagues. Let us be able to give you the answers before, reporting false narratives. Some of these narratives are very harmful. They're very destructive to the intent of the government and what we're trying to do. So thank you.
There are one question.
Yes. We asked if the
So his name is
okay, so the question asks on what prompted our decision to post
thanks you kindly for watching everyone on TV.
In 2015, the world through the United Nations member states established a Sustainable Development Goal 17 goals. They're all geared towards achieving safe spaces, empowering youth, women across the world, and then also to ensure sustainable development across the entire globe. So one of the goals that really talks about empowering and ensuring equality for everyone is SDG goals. Goal number 5, which is gender equality. And Pageantry basically is a platform that has been established to empower women across sectors. And even I know they have men who come on board because we asked if we'll have, that will happen later on. But what comes to us is women, young women and girls who are not, because there are some people with the traditional pageantry go to wear the bikini and stuff, and there are other young women who are very into the same pageantry, but they do not have that space where they can wear the bikini. So this pageant is to create a space for those other young women who do not have interest in the traditional pageant to have a bikini exhibited. So yes, I don't know if Hima wants to add, but I think that's our aim, to promote and create a safe space for young people